think that it was maybe 4 years ago. We've been here a while. I think it's 4 years ago that I realized for the very first time living in the rectory that the first floor bathroom has 2 outlets in it, and those outlets don't work unless you turn the light switch on. At that point, that's not a judgment. That's just, it took me about 7 or 8 years to figure out that the first floor bathroom, unless you have that switch turned on, that doesn't work. The outlet does not work. You know that feeling when you've experienced something numerous times, something that you should have noticed, like if you had lived someplace for 7 years, how the outlets work? But then you finally make a new connection that's been in front of you the entire time. That's how I feel about Luke's telling of Jesus' transfiguration this year. I usually see Jesus' transfiguration and his connection to God. I see and I hear the voice from the cloud in James Earl Jones' voice, or maybe even John Fitzwater's voice. "This is my son, my chosen. Listen to him." I see Peter and John and James weighed down with sleep after an arduous hike with Jesus up this dusty mountainside. And I wonder, how in the world could the 3 of them possibly be tired with all the adrenaline of a hike like that? How's that possible? I hear blundering Peter coming up with the brilliant idea to build 3 dwellings for Moses, the great lawgiver, Elijah, the great prophet, and Jesus, the enfleshed Son of God. We talk and we talk about how magnificent, how miraculous and transcendent Jesus' transfiguration is, and indeed all quite true. Many folks, many clergy, when serving as chaplain at Proctor Conference Center or any of a number of Episcopal camp and conference centers, the last day of camp will often choose this particular gospel lesson to end the camp out on. Preach about mountaintop experiences, drawing nearer to God in thin places, and then being sent back down off that mountain into the world. Okay, all well and good. I've preached that before. But tell me, what about the view this morning from the valley? What about that view? We look to the mountaintop and we shield our faces from the shining of Christ, and we're all struck during the silence after the voice from that cloud. But what about what's happening back down in the valley at the base of that mountain? Jesus has his 3 disciples up top with him, but there's a host of other disciples down at the base working on healing folks. These other disciples in the valley may well be wondering what in the world Peter, James, and John are getting to do with Jesus yet again up there, while they witness heartache down here. Did the disciples and the crowd down below get to see the massive cloud on the mountain? Did they hear a clap of thunder maybe as the divine spoke from the cloud? We don't know, but it's kind of fun to conjecture. What we do know is that the dynamic disciple trio has this awesome, this holy encounter with Jesus, all lit up like the brightest Christmas tree children's minds can ever see. They witnessed 2 holy men with Jesus, Moses and Elijah, topping the list of who is who in their tradition, chatting with Jesus about his departure and what he was about to accomplish in Jerusalem. This is no minor conversation. And the disciples down in that valley are struggling with their healing, at least one healing in particular, with another father and son relationship, one who's experiencing heartache right now, right in this moment. The next day, when Jesus and the 3 disciples get back from their heavenly hike, they quickly hear from this father shouting from the crowd, "Teacher, I beg you to look at my son. He is my only child." Does that sound familiar? My only child, my only begotten. Suddenly his spirit seizes him, and all at once he shrieks, "I begged your disciples to cast it out, but they could not." I suppose that I'm struck differently about the transfiguration this year, because while we may not be having a mountaintop moment as a collective community today, we are doing all right. And as we worship in this beautiful space in relative safety this morning, Ukrainians are fighting for their lives. as they're invaded by Russia. The whole thing strikes me as utterly horrifying, to say the least. We're happy to be together again, worshiping in our church building, rightly so, after so many months away from in-person worship with the pandemic. And right now, at this moment, Ukrainians are seeking holy spaces of refuge and safety for their life. We're thinking about what dish to bring to our Shrove Tuesday dinner, what talent we wish to share with our faith family, and Ukrainian citizens wonder how long their food rations might last. Yes, mountaintop experiences are magnificent, and I hope that we all have at least one such experience during our earthly living. We need moments when Jesus is transfigured before our very eyes, moments when we're surrounded by our sacred ancestors, moments when we hear the voice of God. This is my Son, my chosen. Listen to him. There's hard but good news in Luke's gospel for us today. We know what it is because we live it today. We can be on the mountaintop experiencing the glory of the Lord, while simultaneously our Ukrainian sisters and brothers endure heartache and horror. When Jesus comes down that mountain back into the valley, he's encountered by heartache and the love only a father can have for his only son, who is in misery and in suffering. Jesus and the three decide they just heard the Father declaring Jesus as God's Son, the chosen. Listen to him. With that divine relationship reaffirmed, we witness Jesus rebuke this unclean spirit, heal this boy, give this son back to his father. And all are astounded at the greatness of God. There's tension. There is a tension in the world in which we live, like there is tension with Jesus' glory up top, with the three, in the midst of hurt and heartache at the same time below. Epiphany, this church season of God's love revealed in all sorts and myriad of ways, is drawing to a close as we approach Ash Wednesday, getting closer. And today, we're reminded that glory and that heartache sit next to each other. My friends in Christ, we know glory, and we know heartache and despair too. As beloved of God's, we are called to follow Jesus up and down that mountain, to encounter that glory with Christ, to follow him back on down into the valley, to be present and to be there in total presence with those in their deepest despair. And we aren't called to do any of it perfectly either. We will bumble about like Peter. We will be that group of disciples confused and maybe even experiencing a bit of shame because we couldn't heal the Father's Son. There is glory and there is heartache, and we're all in this together. One of my favorite shows has a scene where the soccer team is frustrated. They've not been playing well. They're very angry with one another, with their coach, with all the players. There's a really negative feel to the atmosphere in the locker room. One of the players, who's always angry, or at least appears angry, tries to remind them of what they can be if they find joy and if they work together. He shares that, and I adjust this quote slightly, he shares that the secret of the Muppets, we remember the Muppets? I'm a child of the Muppets, had a Volkswagen Bug named the Great Gonzo. The secret of the Muppets is they're not very good at what they do. Kermit's not a great host. Fozzie's not a good comedian. Miss Piggy's not a great singer. Like, none of them are actually good at it, but they really love it. And they're like a family, and they like putting on the show, and they have joy. And because of the joy, it doesn't matter that they're not good at it. And that's like what we should all be. Muppets. In glory and in heartache, there is passion. There is heart. We do not lose heart, as our Corinthians reading reminds us of. The glory of the Lord shines all around, and yes, there is still heartache. Therein lies the tension. We are to have heart in our relationship with God, in our relationship with each other, in our relationship out and about with the world, with Ukrainians. Let's push that envelope even further, and with Russians. God is in relationship with all God's creation. The heart of Jesus beating within each soul gives us hope, gives us courage to acknowledge that the show of life won't come off just as we had imagined. But our heart, our working together for the glory of God in the times of electric connection of Christ, and our times of heartache for those who are in suffering, gets us through times of glory and heartache because of Jesus' overflowing love for all creation. Glory and heartache, side by side. We're in the show of life together. Amen.